we've got water here. I didn't need to bring it.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you? Yeah.
Can you believe that this lady has done a 2.5-hour musical this afternoon?
I have.
And then she's come over to see
I
us.
didn't do it all on my own. There was a bear involved.
The housekeeper has always been the most important role in the
Well,
Paddington
in ours,
story.
she's actually the lodger. So, yeah. So in the film, Julie Walters played Mrs. Bird. I play Mrs. Bird. And she's down as the housekeeper. But it's sort of questionable what she really does. And, yes. And so we saw in the books that Michael Bond based Mrs. Bird on his best friend's nanny. And we sort of came up with this plot because we couldn't really understand why the Browns, who seem sort of people of very, minimal means, are living in this amazing house in Notting Hill, and we think that they inherited the house and Mrs. Bird just came with it.
Well, you'd have to be very wealthy to have a housekeeper nowadays, wouldn't you? It's different times from
Well, it's not set now either. It's not really set in any time. It's certainly not set now because there's no mobile phones in it. So,
isn't life all the better for that?
Well, storytelling can be easier, that's for sure. Because sometimes it's just, we need to go and find so-and-so, find whatever, and you go, well, I'll just call them, and that's the end of the show. So,
I'll start with you if I may, Bonnie. I'm not ignoring you, Lisa, my darling. Obviously, you must be devastated that you couldn't watch Time and the Rani this afternoon.
I'm shocked. I'm going to stay up all night and watch it myself.
Do you know what? I did that one day during the week. Is one that, yeah.
Sorry.
It was not. The background to it was not great. Obviously, season 23 had finished. You were with Colin.
Oh, yeah.
Grade told JNT to get rid of him. What was it like for you, knowing what was going on behind the scenes?
Well, I didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes, and to be honest, I think now that's a good thing, because when I joined this show, I mean, it was all a bit mad, and I joined the show because I met John socially at Joe Allen's, as you do after a show, and he said, I produced Doctor. I went, I'd love to do that, because everybody was doing it, all my friends were sort of in it. I thought, that sounds like fun, not really realising that would be ever taken seriously. And then I get this call to say, John's got a paragraph to show you about a character that might be nice in Doctor Who. Do you want to go meet him? So I went down to Shepherd's Bush, and he showed me this, and I went, that sounds nice. And then just did it. But when I joined to start filming, there was a very strange atmosphere. It was very tense, and I wasn't expecting that at all, because I had worked with Colin before in pantomime when I was 16, and he was a lot of fun. And so I knew he wasn't his normal self, and there was something, as they say, trouble at mill. And it was very schoolified and very strict, and I thought, this isn't really what I thought we would be doing. Not that I don't, at the time particularly, I was very, very earnest and took everything very seriously. But I did also know that you don't have Linda Bellingham, Michael Jason and Colin Baker in a room and you're serious. That doesn't happen normally. But anyway, we did Trial of a Time Lord, and then John phoned me, I think, and said that Colin was no longer staying, and that they were auditioning people, and they had got somebody, but they wanted me to meet them, and it turned out it was Sylvester, who I knew, because I had been in Pirates of Penzance with Sylv, and we'd actually got married every night.
I think I saw Colin in Pirates of Penzance many years ago. The Swan at High Wycombe.
I don't know. I'm not sure of his entire CV.
Varies. So, this first story, it was kind of tricky because they didn't quite know how Sylv should play it, and we've had an earlier panel with Wanda and Andrew Cartmel, Andrew Morgan. And I know Andrew, by the way, has received the Society Terence Dix Award for Writers earlier today, which is great. And I know it's his least favourite story, but he did write the first line. He told us today, didn't he? Yeah.
What?
Forget the girl, it's the man I want. And it was the only line he wrote in 90 minutes of Doctor Who. Or 100 minutes, in fact, on that.
You see, this was another thing. I didn't realise that they didn't really have a script editor at the time, or a producer of that nature. So Andrew was there, but he sort of, I don't know that he was officially a title at that point. certainly when we were originally filming. So it obviously had been through all sorts of differences. And in a way, you asked me what it was like. It was actually quite refreshing, because suddenly there we were telling stories again. It wasn't as if there was an overlap from something before that I didn't know anything about. It was sort of a fresh start. And and knowing Sylv, I knew that he needed sort of support, and the little that I knew, which was very little, at least we could sort of grow together. And I always think it's really difficult when people are taking over an iconic role. It's like a sort of a James Bond or any of those characters. People say, well, what are you going to do with the part? And you go, I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, Cameron McIntosh said to me a couple of years ago, he said, right, I want you to do Madame Thénardier in Les Mis. What's she going to be like? And I said, well, short. And totally went over his head. He went, well, yeah, well, I mean, we could work that out. I'm like, no, I'm being funny, Cameron. Because I don't know. I mean, I just said, what do you want me to be? Send me some videos, I'll copy it. Yeah, I literally did. And he did. But you know, you don't know how you're going to develop a part. And something like Who is very, very difficult to come into, because everybody has an opinion and everybody has an expectation. And so dear old Sylv brought all his tricks, all his pratfalls, all his spoons, all his things, because in those instances, you know what it's like, Nick, so when you're sort of binding your feet, you bring your support with you, you bring your little sort of helpful mementos of tricks and stuff. And they were big shoes to fill, and they always are. I remember when Shooty took over, he came for his first day and we went out for dinner, and I said, this is very strange, this is not like a normal job. This is something that you are now part of a family and a community, and there will be high expectations that you don't even know, nobody knows how to fulfill, and everyone will have an opinion about what you do. Everyone will have an opinion.
Apart from those here, obviously.
Oh yes, nobody here. But I did also feel like we were it became, and I thought was the nice part for us, was that it felt like we were the sort of the regulars, and that other people, these wonderful artists who would come in like Wanda and play these brilliant parts, that we were sort of part of a sort of a rep company. Because in those days you used to rehearse. Remember that?
So if we jump forward to Christmas Day 2023, Mrs. Flood.
Hello there.
Hello. Suddenly, at the end of the Christmas Day episode, smashes the fourth wall to Kingdom Come. Yeah, that was. I was like, oh, I say, what's going to happen here?
Wasn't it? It was brilliant.
It was brilliant. At that time, had Russell said anything to you about your character progressing further?
We'll get one thing straight. Mrs. Flood knew nothing. At any point, at any time, in the whole time she was on screen. She didn't know who she was, where she was going, where she was from, why she was there, nothing. It was really exciting because you just came in and you dealt with the day. You know, that was the day in the street, and you met Ruby and la la la, and so you knew that was. So gradually I grew with the part, and Russell started to write for her, and I loved it. There was a moment when I was standing on the roof looking like Mary Poppins with a parasol and a suitcase in a beautiful white cloak, thinking, now, who is she now? Where's this going? And I think that's what everybody else thought. And none of us knew. He never told anyone. I asked if I could have the cloak, and he said no. He said it's going on tour without you.
You wore it at the proms, didn't you?
I did.
Yes.
I thought he was giving it to me then, but he didn't have it.
Oh, shit. That was great.
I'm Anita Dobson. This is Bonnie Lang. This is our lovely audience. And we're talking about Doctor
I
Who.
remember. All the research, you can really see it, can't you? I had the pleasure of interviewing you in April, just down the road at Posk. And I think I said to you then, I really hope you're the Rani, Anita. And I think a lot of people were hoping you were the Rani.
Did anybody guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who the Rani was at that point. Until somebody said, oh, it was Russell actually, who said to me, we're not sure who you are yet. He said, I think you might be a time lady, but I'm not sure. So he would give me a bit, let me take it away again.
Yes.
And then I learned from the costume department, as you do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course you do. About that Kate O'Mara famously played the Rani, and that there hadn't been a Rani since Kate. So I thought, well, it doesn't look like that's happening then, so maybe she's just going to, carry on being a lady that borrows nice frocks now and again and wears white cloaks and stands on roofs. And then towards the end, I remember that Pam, the costume lady, was making me a costume, and I looked at her and I said, I don't know where this is going, do you? And she went, we think we do. Russell tends to change his mind sometimes. He goes off at a tangent. He starts down the road and then thinks, and then he goes over that way. So you can't second guess him, can you? But I must say, it's been a really fantastic ride. And having Archie Punjabi on board was sensational. We just clicked from the moment she walked on set. And yeah.
No doubt about who was the boss, was there?
None at all. Well, was there? I don't know. Was she the
Well,
boss?
you survived and she
Yeah,
didn't.
exactly.
Listen, I thought it was tremendous, Bonnie, that the character of Mel came back because she was reinvented. We knew you were saying there was that one paragraph or whatever, and she was this computer programmer from Pease Cottage or something like that. And then that got developed beautifully, and I was thrilled that you got brought back in. I remember there was some location photos from when you were doing the first season shooting with Shooty, and you were on a motor scooter and whatever.
I loved that. Didn't you love her on the motor scooter?
It was great. And then you had your own moped in Reality War and Wish World and whatever.
Yeah.
But your character was much more defined.
Yeah, she had a job. She suddenly was back in a place. She had a position. And I mean, when I did it in the 80s, I never went anywhere near the TARDIS, the console, never had a computer, and I was supposed to be this computer programmer, never went near anything except monsters and screamed a lot. And I used to say, surely she has something more to say, but the world was a very different place then. And, who could have imagined at that point that we would basically be walking around with computers on our wrists, that was just far too far ahead in those days. And, there were times when particularly towards the end of my time with Sylvester, I was like, well, she's just a bit too Fay Ray here. It's all just, and I just thought, nah, there's nothing more. I can't get anything more out of her. So to come back with Russell, well, he how it worked out was that during COVID, he found lots of old scripts that he'd written, and he found an old script called The Mind of the Hodiak that he had written when he was about 23. Did
you do that for Big Finish eventually?
Yes, yeah, he did. We did it for Big Finish, and he said, in fact, I saw him on the One Show saying, "Oh yes, and we're going to record it, and Colin and Bonnie are going to do it." And I'm thinking, am I? I didn't actually ask me to do it. I'd heard whispers about it, but I hadn't heard about it. But it was absolutely joyous that we recorded it, and then a few weeks later, I think I get an email from him saying, "This is absolutely top secret. Do you fancy it?" And I wrote back, "Hell yes." And that was the script for the specials that we did, and one of the specials. And what was so extraordinary about it as well was not only was it brilliant to be a character that then obviously was much more than two-dimensional, had a job, had a certain amount of vulnerability, and he very cleverly put, well, you know what happened. So I had to say something to David, which was, well, you know what happened. And I thought, what did happen? None of us know. He'll fill that gap in later. And then also to be much more feisty, to be much more of a sort of a grounded person was just a joy. And to be part of the Bi Generation, I'm totally grateful. But what was extraordinary was that he sent me that script in about January, and we didn't film it till sort of end of March, April. And so I went up to the office and said, "Do I need it?" Just before we were filming, I said, "Do I need an updated script?" And they said, "Oh, you can have one," but it was exactly the same. It wasn't changed at all. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
Just talking about that, I have to say, I thought Neil Patrick Harris was magnificent.
Yeah, he was. You know, he's a complete magic fiend. He adores it. He's got magic rooms. He goes to every escape room he can find wherever he is, and he absolutely adores magic. So I think that was also one of the things that really appealed to him, was that he could be, he could do some of his magic within the piece. So he was a sweetheart.
It was great. You mentioned about back in the day you had rehearsal. Can I ask both of you who've worked with a lot of rehearsal and with the different way nowadays, which do you prefer? The old-fashioned week in the Acton Hilton, or in your case when you were doing Enders, it would have been at Elstree maybe, and then filming, or do you prefer the modern style where you really just do it on the day?
I don't know.
It depends, I suppose, doesn't it? I mean, I just like rehearsal. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can get rehearsal, thank you. Sometimes you get longer rehearsal, sometimes you get shorter rehearsal. As with everything, it's balance. As Bonnie will know, you can have a too long rehearsal where you kind of go past the point of, the joyous moment. You're thinking, you need to do the thing now. And you can also not have enough, so that you're in such a panic that you're thinking, I can't even remember who I am. Who am I playing? So I think balance is the important thing. The best is like being prepared, having had your script ahead of time, so you've done your homework, and then having enough rehearsal so that everybody knows what they're doing, and then leaving it loose enough so that when the moment comes, it's still got a bit of oomph.
Yeah, I mean, when I went into Enders, I was so worried about learning all my lines, but also I was just in awe of the people that could just turn up and just look at it and go, yeah, okay, and do it. And I remember saying once to Adam Woodjack, I'm really worried, I don't know that I'm going to be able to remember and learn all my lines, but to learn my lines. And he said, no, you don't learn them, you remember them. And then you delete. So it's literally, that's why you do it. But I found that just so impressive, the amount of work that they turn over. And there was one time, you get to the point where you get so fast at it, it's amazing. There was one time we were having to do a load of pickups because I was doing a very big storyline in Enders, and the director, I think we were actually on location, and he said, I might not be able to do tomorrow. And I said, oh gosh, are you all right? He said, yeah, well, my wife's having a baby, she's gone into labour. I went, oh my God! Anyway, so then we did have to delay. And so that meant that we had to do 16 scenes in one day. And we got to the point where we were knocking them out so well. And it was great because it was very, very high emotion. And he said, right, we've got 20 minutes before we have to take lunch. Do you want to do the attempted suicide now or after lunch? I mean, you talk like that. It's ridiculous how you get to that point where you go, oh, yeah, we do. Well, let's give it a go, and if not, we'll do it after lunch. Yeah, it just becomes so blasé. So you get into a rhythm of whatever you're having to do at the time. And rehearsal can be lovely because you sort of find different things. I think nowadays there's so much money involved and so many effects and so many crew. I mean, you might have a couple of days or a read through or something before you start, but it's generally you don't rehearse separately to shooting. You just might do an hour's rehearsal or blocking if you're lucky, and then give it a go.
Just talking about Enders, someone came back into Enders early this year, didn't they?
Really?
Yeah. Maybe they can help tell you who it was.
Yeah.
It was lovely. It was great.
Brief.
But isn't it all the better for being small, 3 or 4 minutes or whatever it was?
Funny you should say that, because when they first wrote it, there was going to be 2 scenes. And I looked at it. One of them was a letter, which you heard her voice, but you didn't actually see her. And I said, you're kind of giving the game away. As soon as they hear that voice, they know. I said, so wouldn't it be better if you let me condense the 2 scenes and we just do the 1 scene and you get the gas, the shock, and it's on. So that's what we did. We just did the 1 scene, but we put the 2 together.
Just going on from earlier, if you're filming Enders for 3 years, and it's incredibly pressurised and this, that and the other, or if you're doing a national tour of a musical when you've got 8 shows a week, which is the more difficult?
They have different problems. Each one has its own problems. Yeah, they're completely different. You're in a different medium, dealing with different time schedules. With filming, you could be up at 4 in the morning. with theatre, you're there till late at night, so it's completely different. They're two different ballparks, aren't they?
Yeah. And they're both great.
They're
I mean,
both
I think that's why we do it, isn't it? So that we don't do the same thing all the time.
Yeah. We get bored at home, don't we?
Yes, get bored.
One of my favourite musicals, and I should be going to see it on tour next year in Birmingham, is Cats. And it is now 44 years since you played the original Rumpelteazer. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to age you, Bonnie, but I am staggered because it is the most physically demanding piece of theatre or television or anything I've ever seen. If any of you have ever seen it, you see the Jellicle Ball, it's just ludicrous. I don't know how you guys do it.
Well,
and I just say, before you say anything, this woman is, to me, one of the best dancers we've got in England.
Not anymore. Not at the moment. The knees don't work, but that's their knees got ruined again.
That's the curse of all of us, knees.
Yeah, the knees.
No, it is just the set piece, isn't it? And it is incredible.
Well, it was very different. It was terribly different at the time. You know, we're talking 1981. I was 16, which now I kind of go, gosh, I didn't feel young at all, but it was terribly young, really, wasn't it? To be around Brian Blessed was very young. Poor Nicholas. But no, it was bonkers. It was bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And to be honest, we thought that it would probably close on the first night. It was going to be huge. Whatever it was going to be impactful, whether it was the biggest flop of the century or the biggest hit. And it was the second one. And it was extraordinary when we got into the theatre, but there's so much trouble during the rehearsal period. It was ambulances coming all the time, people being casted off to hospital, ones going, oh yeah, all the time. There's always some kind of drama going on. But and it was all very crazy and last minute, and the set was lethal. And I mean, the original Grisabella was Judi Dench.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, you're correct. Sorry, I'm not trying to.
I happened to be there. And she snapped her Achilles tendon in the first week of rehearsals. Yeah. And she tried to come back, but she had some problems with her leg, and then she came back to the first tech run that we had, and the set was so lethal. I mean, it was literally planks of wood to get onto the stage, and she had crutches, and she fell, and she said, that's it. And that's why Elaine Page is in it. She was called at the last minute. She decided to come do 3 days rehearsal, and she was on. So I mean, it was extraordinary. I suppose one day they'll probably write a musical about the making of Cats. Be interesting if they get it right. But I didn't know it was going on tour again. That's interesting, isn't it?
I'm seeing it next November in Birmingham.
Oh
it's
my
national tour.
goodness.
The thing about a tour of Cats is it can never replicate what it was like at the New London, because that set was there for a very long time, and it was just unique.
Yeah. Well, what was amazing was that theatre was a bit of a white elephant up until then. It was a bit of a white elephant. It had been rebuilt since after the war, and it was really a sort of a concrete bunker, and nothing had really been successful in it. But actually, the fact that you went into this peculiar building and quite cold in its feel, apart from the crazy carpet, and you went up all these escalators, and then you went up the stairs to get into the theatre, and then you were in this sort of mad, magical world. And I mean, I think that I think Andrew took the theatre, he hired the theatre because I think he had This Is Your Life done in there because it was leased by Thames Television, and they used to do This Is Your Life in there. And he went in there and he sat there and thought, oh, this would be quite interesting for Cats, and that's when he took it. But yeah, it was amazing to be part of that. Now I think about it, but there's lots of stories I can tell. Talk to my lawyer.
Yeah. If I could talk about one other musical, because I'm with two absolute doyens of the genre. Chicago, you've played Roxy Hart and you've played My Mum Moulton. Tremendous musical, again. Very
it's 50
different.
years old, isn't it? I think, isn't it 50 years this month?
Is it really?
Yeah, I think, yeah. From the original, not the version that we did. Yeah. Because it was with Gwen Verdon and Cheetah Rivera. Yeah, Cheetah. Cheats. Oh, I loved her. I think both of them. And then at one point, there's a lot of stuff online at the moment about Chicago, because Gwen, it was a very different show. It was much longer, and they unfortunately in the finale they would let out confetti bombs, and Gwen would sing upwards, and a bit fell into her throat. She got this terrible throat problem, so she had to drop out the show, and it hadn't been on for very long. And Liza Minnelli phoned up Bob Fosse and said, can I go in the show? And that first show she went on, they didn't announce her at all. And then she went in it for about 10 weeks. and that basically saved the show. Yeah. And then both came
You
back.
are a fantastic
I know,
man of information.
I know all sorts of useless information.
She's brilliant.
It's only useful on things like Richard Osman's House of Games.
Great raconteur.
You've been there and done it though, haven't you? But you have as well, Peter.
Well, Bonnie's actually been in musicals much more than I have, so you are the connoisseur of that.
Yeah, but I remember seeing you do pantomime at the show.
I was just going to come on to panto.
Yes.
Favourite pantos and roles?
Aladdin and Snow White.
Well, you've probably played Aladdin and you've played the Wicked Queen or something.
Many times.
See that?
I love it. It's much nicer to play the baddie,
Yes,
isn't it? It's more fun.
I did Amdram, and it's either Dame or Baddie. They're the two roles that I tried to do.
My first panto, I played Girl Babe. That's how long ago it was. Yeah, so I've worked my way slowly through the ranks to old crones.
You're not doing one. Oh, mind you, if you're doing one, you'd be rehearsing now, wouldn't you? Or are you
After Christmas, I start.
Any questions, folks, rather than me gibbering on? Yes, sir.
It's for Bonnie. Did you keep in touch with Mark Greenstreet? I don't think he comes to events or conventions at all.
No, do you know, I haven't come across him at all. What's he doing?
Well,
He's very handsome, wasn't
I can
he?
tell you something that I've learned
Right,
in the last hour.
right.
Because we were trying to get him to come here, and he's abroad at the moment. But if he wasn't abroad, he would have come. Okay? Don't know where he is abroad, don't know what he's doing, but he's a man who, I don't think has he ever done a Doctor Who convention?
I don't know. I mean, he was.
You know.
I know. He was such a handsome young man, and they painted him yellow, and it was quite with cornflakes on his face, and run about in a quarry with your hands behind you. But yeah, no, he was very sweet, wasn't he? He was very earnest, very serious, but he was lovely. I haven't seen him for years.
No.
No.
Next question, please. Sir, I'll come to you after that one. No. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Just a question for Bonnie, if that's okay. So, how did acting alongside David and Shooter differ from Colin and Sylvester?
Compare and contrast. They are all fantastic, actually. They are all fantastic and all very, very different. The only similarity they have is that they are all extremely professional. And that is lovely and that is joyous to be part of.